telling you, Game is top tier, bro. Game, that nigga is top tier.
Why y'all think Game don't get enough respect, bro? Because Game has a solid category, a solid portfolio, dog. Mm-hmm. My song that I always go back to the Game is what's that joint he did, the Erykah Badu sample? On and on, and he had Kendrick in there.
Oh no! On me. Documentary too.
That's my joint, man. Classic.
Matter of fact, that's the album that put me on to Game, because he had that song with P. Diddy, Standing on Ferraris, had that track with Drake. Like, nigga, the whole album as a whole piece of art is just pure magic. Pure magic.
Nah, the first time I heard, and I'm grinding till I'm tired of this. You ain't grinding till you die. So I'm grinding, my eyes wide, looking to find a way through the day. Life of the night. Did y'all know that shit?
I don't know.
My life? Remember we? Come on, dog.
I don't know that song.
Life, man, what the hell?
White man taking my life.
Yeah, I know that song.
Like, what the hell am I to do about it?
You know, with this brand new album, you know, Heart versus Mind, it shows a lot of maturity on his part, because he's come like a long way from someone like that's very game banging, like that's in that life, that's in that lifestyle.
The big blood.
Right. You know, Bompton. Like, fuck Compton, no, Bompton, nigga. But to come from that to where he is now, like, granted, he still has some ties to it, but, you know, he's opened up his heart a little bit more, and he's starting to understand, you know, aspects of human life from all angles, and not just from, you know, the set. Because he can talk about, you know, the set and shit and whatnot, but I know that Game, he's a true hip-hop fanatic, because he mentions other artists like Andre 3000. He mentions Tribe Called Quest. He mentions, you know, the Roots.
Student of it, for real.
Yep.
And so mind you,
what is
these
this
are
album about, bro? Because I haven't listened to the album. And the last album, he said he was retiring.
Bro,
rappers be capping with that.
Heart versus Mind. And I think that's exactly what you were talking about, with him getting a more variety of perspectives in his life. He's really putting it in his music now. Like, Heart versus Mind is a big battle I think everybody has to go through eventually. You know, what does your heart want versus what your mind logically wants? Battling logic and emotion and trying to find some type of balance or consensus amongst that. And I think that really, in a raw hip-hop way, in a West Side banger way, that's exactly what he was trying to do, really. And ultimately, what he's trying to do is, how do you be a high-valued man in America?
And you know, going to the topic like that, hey, my boy nice with it, man. So we're going to kick this off officially, y'all. If y'all don't know, y'all going to add this into y'all most played podcast. This is the Peace of Mind podcast. I'm 1/3 of the crew here. You can follow me at _King Coop.
This is Jalen, synonymous, in other words. Follow me at _I am synonymous. SYNONYOMOUS.
That's a dope ass name.
Jarrell, so you can follow me at JERRELL.Kemp, KEMP. I'm on Instagram, and you know, Sean Kemp. You know what I mean? Yeah, that reference.
That sounds like the set.
Yeah, man. So what this podcast is basically going to be, you're going to get the perspective from three real niggas here. We not out here chasing no clout or nothing. We really are just doing this for fun, man. This is a brotherhood. We have fun. We think outside the box. We always had these type of conversations, and one day we just decided, like,
get that shit on camera.
Yeah, I think it would be dope if we put it on camera. So this is basically gonna be like barbershop talk, but deeper than that. Like, we think below the surface. You know what I'm saying? So if you tired of just getting you know, if you one of them persons that get on social media and put a real thought out there, and you tired of basic niggas, we gonna give you the real. So
recycling opinions over and over and over again. Nah, it's time for new perspective. Niggas, free thought. Free thought is stepping into the building, and we taking over, nigga.
If you want critical, analytical thought, thinking outside the box, free thinking, then this podcast is for you. Again, we can touch on the bullshit like everybody else, but we can also hit you with some deep shit that's really gonna, like, expand your mind. Again, it's not made to scare you. It's just we're here to make you think, you know. And yeah.
So I mean, like, bro, that was a hell of an introduction. I guess we could just start with you. What does it mean to be a high level man?
Ooh.
Cause, bro, you brought it up earlier, bro, and I've been thinking, nigga. I've been thinking. I'm like, nigga, what? Like, how do you do that?
It's hard for me to find, dog. I mean, I feel like I still may leave some stuff out, but I definitely feel like society has the wrong impression on what a high value man is. To me, a high value man is nothing tangible. When I think of high value, when society thinks of value, they think about, dollars, assets, what you got, what you bring to the table. That's a popular expression now. What do you bring to the table? What do I gain by wasting my time, so-called, talking to you? When really all a high value man is to me is somebody that has knowledge of self and that is well disciplined, somebody that's integrous, somebody that has these traits that, you really think of raising up your seed to be. Like if y'all had kids, what are some traits that you would want your kids to come up with?
Off gate, courageous. Integrity is big. Doing what they feel is right, specifically what they have found is right when nobody else around, because that's the real judgment of a real person. That's the true judgment of a king or a queen, when they act related to their royal code when nobody else is around.
So being able to stand on your own, right?
Stand on your own, bro. So if one of the things you are sworn not to do for your personal code is to not steal, not to cheat on nobody, not to do whatever. You got to do that in not all facets of your life, but at least most of them, because you always got to leave room for mistakes. But more times than not, you got to stand on your own accord. If not, you're going to be off balance, and you're going to be moving left, and you're going to be moving right, and you're going to be trying to find your balance the whole way, not understanding you got to find your balance wherever you are in that balancing beam.
Mm-hmm. So what you got to say about that, bro?
I'm going to say that the definition, from what I think a high value man is someone, that, like you pretty much said, just standing on your own 2 feet and just fighting for what you really believe in. Because, like, obviously, you got different paths, different, philosophies in different ways. But if you really, like, stick with what you believe and say, that's high value. And it's not much like, having a lot of money, fucking the baddest bitches all the time, like doing all that stuff. Like, no, like that doesn't make you high value. What makes you high value is just like what's on the inside. And, you shouldn't seek validation from X, Y, and Z. Like, no, like you got to like find that peace and that inner like light inside of yourself instead of trying to find it in other people. And I think that's part of the reason why, we're in the state we're in now as far as society, because people don't want to think for themselves, and they just rather just, follow instead of just following like their own intuition.
Right, yeah, definitely, for sure. Like, I feel like a lot of people, especially this generation, even like the millennials at this point, are being raised by social media. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to really define, RP to Kevin Samuels, he basically kind of popularized this term of a high value man. But to take this a level deeper, so do y'all feel like, because I said a high value man isn't something that's tangible, but do you feel like a high value man is somebody that has to have access to these resources? Say like you want to go after a high value woman, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. A high value man, does he have to have access to these resources? Like, is him just having these traits that we're talking about, is that okay? Or like, how do y'all feel about that?
Well, first and foremost, whenever you're given a definition to anything, it can't be absolute, because everything exists contextually. So whenever we talk about being a high value man, it's completely up to the individual. And going back to what Rel was saying, when you don't need to follow what everybody else is doing. You need to stay in your own lane and let other people worry about their life lanes. There's no need to compare your value to another person's value, because at the end of the day, they're in their lane and they're doing their thing the way that you need to be in your lane and doing your own thing. So that really, all your value comes from inside. So if I'm working for the city of Raleigh, if I'm working for Sherwin and Williams, if I'm working at Cheesecake Factory, if I'm a billionaire, millionaire, whatever avenue I'm in, I determine what type of value I have and what type of value I carry myself as a man. So as far as resources are concerned, it's only a priority if you believe that's going to be a priority. Mm-hmm. So You know, a lot of people on social media, you know, shorters will be like, no, I need this type of nigga. I need this man to be like this. I need him to be like this, and I need him to be like that. I need him to make this much. Vice versa. We say, we need a bitch that's down like this and gonna stay with me through that, and she gonna have to do this, that, and the third for me. Blase, blase. That only matters to the individual in which that energy is coming out of. So if you don't think that certain things are important, like some people want a stay-at-home wife. You know me, I don't want a stay-at-home wife. I want you to carry your weight because we are two individuals consolidating our life forces. So I see no reason for you to just look to me to take care of you financially. You know, at the end of the day, I was watching this actually on High Level Conversations. We were talking about that's my nigga, man. Hey, my nigga put me on, bro. They were talking about,
understand me.
You understand me, nigga?
Understand me.
But they were talking about like, okay, so how does a high level woman and a high level man attract each other? And Queen Afua,
yeah.
I love Queen Afua. Her son was talking about, well, what me and my beloved do is, you know, we focus on our own life tasks, and then we come together and support each other's life tasks. And I find that that really is the best way to approach your relationship. You don't need to look at yourselves as one, but you guys are two separate entities experiencing your own journeys and your own lives, and y'all are choosing to share your journeys together as one. That's the one part. That's the one journey y'all are sharing. But at the end of the day, y'all still are two separate entities. So it's all about whether, when you're approaching a woman, do you guys complement each other? You know what I mean? Does her life task and your life task line up together and fit and coincide very well? You know, if you feel like resources needs to go along with that in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, then yeah. But if not, then I mean, you kind of have to, you gotta move forward appropriately.
I think, bro, that like a lot of people just have a terrible misconception on what a high value person is, because, you know, a lot of times we will associate that with the money and stuff and all the stuff that we hear in today's music and today's media and stuff like that. When at the end of the day, if you're dealing with a man that has these traits and everything that we're talking about, he's going to get that bag. So you're out here chasing a bag, calling that a high value man, when at the end of the day, some of these people come into money but don't have any character.
No type of character
at all. So it's if you're prioritizing the money over the character traits of the high value man, like I said, if a man is self-upright and about something and has these traits, he's going to go get that bag anyway, because he's not going to be satisfied with being a bum.
They look into what the person can provide for them versus the person itself.
Exactly. You know, you always hear these things, you know, what can you do for me? What do you bring to the table and all this stuff, when really you should be chasing him based off of the things that you see that he brings already. That shouldn't even be a question. You know, that should be what attracts you to him is his works. And I really just feel like that, you know, that's where we get it mixed up, because like I said, that you can be passed down money, you can be dealing with scammers, you can be dealing with drug dealers, all these people that get this fast money, and then, you know, they didn't have anything that they really took to earn this money, so they had no respect for that. They don't respect the money, they ain't gonna respect you.
Right.
You know?
Right. You got to understand you are the bag, but and you don't need to chase a bag. Whatever you are coming in contact with in this life just becomes a part of you, aka becomes a part of your bag. If that means that I'm getting 6 figures every single year, that's what it is, but it's not going to diminish me or my value, because I'm something that's way more valuable than motherfucking making $150,000 a year.
Exactly.
I'm so high value within myself that I am perfectly okay with making $70,000 a year, $80,000 a year, and I'm still gonna live comfortable. Nigga, I think me and Daniel were talking about it earlier, like the fact that, you know what I mean, you could be making 6 figures a year, but then you essentially are making $70,000, $60,000 a year because of the taxes that's taken out, all the expenses that comes with being rich. And motherfuckers don't understand that's the shit that comes with getting a bag. You gotta you have to have in your bag problems. Like I used to work at Cleanings, and the man that owned it had told me, yeah, man, I'm well off, but I had to drop thousands of dollars to fix my roof because my roof was leaking. But that's like $10,000-$15,000 you got to drop right there, depending on where you living. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, you got the money, but that means you also have the money to deal with rich nigga problems. You know what I mean?
And to translate, not to get too off topic, you know, Nipsey once said in a song with him, Ross, and Stolly, it's called Stained Glass. So it came out like back in.
Hip-hop head.
So now I get to our topic, Stained Glass. But the quote that he said, no material could measure what my soul is worth. So basically, he's saying, look, you know, like the chains that I wear, you know, like the money that I do got, and then everything that I do got, it doesn't dictate like me as like an individual and as like, you know, my soul's worth, because I got that inner light inside myself. And obviously, you know, his name has like a meaning to it. You know, his name actually means,
he
you know,
created his value here.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
And that makes me think too, bro. Like, think about, you know, let's take it back to the village where, you know, everybody is, all the young boys coming up on a certain level before they go through their rites of passage or whatever. If they don't have these, you know, all these material possessions and stuff like that, what makes them a high value man? That would be, in that case, going through those rites of passages and stuff like that. You know, it's all about the works, you know, I feel like, and that's where it gets misconstrued. People misconstrue works with money.
Right.
Money can be handed down, you know.
Right.
Versus the person that earned that, you know what I'm talking about.
Right. Right. And, you know, that's the thing, that if society could, you know, just obviously be more open-minded to, you know, how they view things, because like we, you know, I'll say, you know, everything's just about, you know, getting the latest Louis Vuitton, the latest Balenciaga, the latest Fendi, Louis, Prada, you know, and that doesn't dictate you. Like, I'm not saying not to have nice things, but you shouldn't wear those nice things out of validation from other people to try to like seek validation or approval from those same people that don't care nothing about you. And I think we spoke on that like a little bit earlier with Daniel. Like, why would you like want to do all of this like self-improvement and all of this like high value things for the same people that didn't even like care about you in the first place? Like, no, like self-improve, become high value for you. Like, don't do it for me, don't do it for them. No, like, do it for you. You know?
Exactly, bro. And it's like, so we will have female guests on the panel, hopefully. I mean, I got some people that I know, but we are coming from the perspective of three men here, and there's certain traits that come with being a man. I mean, we talked about basically standing on your own. A lot of people in this generation had that problem, because when I started out, I said, we're not chasing clout. You know, I feel like, you know, I got all this stuff that's on my way to creating this, and I feel like I live my life the way I want to. You know, I live independently. I'm not worried about what other people say and stuff like that. So, you know, it's all about what you define yourself as.
And as long as you are letting other people tell you what a high value is, then you always gonna live on a low level frequency.
You always gonna be striving to hit that mark.
Yeah, and you're never gonna be able to hit it, because even if you do hit those marks, even if you do have all the shoes, you got all the shorties, you got all the gear, you got all the shit, but then when you lay your head down at night, you over here like, something's missing. The thing that's missing really is you, because you having all these symbols, you having all these things that's supposed to symbolize high value, but yet you don't feel that high value necessarily within yourself. Right. Maybe what you needed wasn't 10 bitches. It wasn't fucking 10 bitches last month. It wasn't copping all the latest gear. It wasn't having 50 pairs of shoes. Actually, maybe what you needed was a walk in the motherfucking park, nigga. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's all you need. You know what I mean? Sometimes maybe what you needed was a change of scenery. Maybe what you needed was to invest more in the relationships in your life. Maybe honestly, at the end of the day, what people really need, and I don't even like saying that. I don't like to feel like, you know, I know what people need, but it's a disconnection with ourselves, which ultimately relates to the value within a person. There's a disconnect right there. We always are looking outside to connect with something, but if we're not connected with ourselves, how can we even ask these questions? How can you honestly answer these questions if you are out of touch with yourself? Even something simple as why is it important to eat breakfast? If you are not connected with yourself, you can't even answer a simple question like that. And it doesn't even mean that, you know, you have to eat breakfast every morning. Some motherfuckers, they don't need breakfast. Right. You know what I mean? But some motherfuckers do. But that's the thing, you know, stand for something or fall for nothing. That's or fall for anything. And it doesn't mean that, you know, you have to be solid in every single thing that you approach. Like, I'm going to be this way in every single way. Right. Every single experience or situation I find myself in. standing for something just means that you are standing comfortably within yourself, and you will use your own intuition to interpret everything around you, and not to come up with a final conclusion, but to come up with a continuous conclusion every single day in life.
To add on to that again, this is why, again, not to get off topic, but this is why, I'm such a big fan of Cole, because Cole said in an interview back in 2014 with Angie Martinez, he had the interview where he was like, yo, like, like, it don't matter, like, none of this like matters. Like, I thought that me having like everything, like me having like, the house, I got my mom's out of Fayetteville, like, I thought that all of this was just gonna make a nigga happy, when it didn't. And now look at him now. People, like, obviously, like us, like, the reason why we fuck with Cole so much, because he's human. Like, he's real. Like, he's not putting up like this fake facade. And then obviously, when Hove gave him like the rock chain, Cole gave that shit back to him, said like, hey man, listen, this doesn't, like, this isn't like me. Like, I'm still a real nigga, like, without the chains on, like, without having like the material shit. And even like, and this is why everybody, like, even street niggas and all that, like, they like Cole because he's authentic. And that's where his value comes in, where he's like, yo, like, I don't need that stuff to be, who I am, to be like high value. So,
bro, I'm gonna tell y'all, money really isn't everything, man. So, I mean, I grew up in a 2-parent household. I had my mother and my father, and my dad was like the breadwinner, so to say. He paid the bills. We had a 2-story house or whatever, kind of like the typical American lifestyle, 2 kids, house, dog, all that stuff. But it's certain stuff that came with that. Like my dad, I wouldn't see my dad every day till like 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Because he were out there working that whole day in order to, quote unquote, become this high value man. And then it's like, when he get home, he tired and burnt out. We don't have time to go out there and play basketball. We didn't have the time for him to pass down, certain stuff that he learned from his father to me. Right. Granted, now that I'm older, we have cultivated a better relationship, and I do feel like I have learned certain things from him. But growing up, it wasn't there. But on the outside, everything looked sweet. We had the house all that. So it was just like,
yeah. And motherfuckers think that that's like just because you grew up in a 2-parent household like that.
That's the
like
end
you had it made. Because us out here,
same.
And I even speak from I grew up with a single mom. Thank God for my grandparents too. They were pretty much my father. But you know what I mean? Motherfuckers think that struggle is only catered to motherfuckers like me. But it's like, nah, bro. No. Like niggas in 2-parent households go through it too. You gotta deal with arguments between 2 broken people. You know what I mean? Then there's things like, well, I didn't get necessarily the time with my father the way I wish I did. Right. You know what I'm saying? You see all types of shit in every single environment. There's no just absence of painful experiences in any type of childhood, I believe, truthfully. Right. Motherfuckers think even if you grow up with money, like, don't get me wrong, like, yeah, you grew up with money, you grew up comfortably financially, but there's still you still have some shit that bothered you. And some of them shits would be crazy, because they'd be like, damn, you were worried because your maid like got you in trouble because you were supposed to make your bed and your maid was supposed to make your bed for you. Like, don't get me wrong, that sounds kind of silly, you know what I mean? But to that person, it's like, yeah, bro, like, that made me feel some type of way. Right. And I mean, it's hard. It's a disconnect from a lot of us, because it's like, damn, I wish I had that problem, but it's also a problem nonetheless.
And also, like, we, especially like now in society, like, we look at, obviously, like, people say, damn, like, they have like a really good life, but little do you know, like, behind the scenes of what's going on. And I'm witness to it, because, hey, I work with a celebrity. I work with Lecrae, you know what I mean? Like 2 years ago down in Atlanta, not perfect. Shout out to Lecrae, not perfect, yeah, he had flaws and whatnot. But I'm just thinking, like, damn, like, his fan base, or the people that really love him, they don't see, the other side. Like, they don't know the other side.
What you say that song was, bro?
Oh, you talking about Jesus music? Yeah, riding with my top down Jesus music. Yeah,
Ride down how I go back. Ride down top with my bumping Jesus music song.
Yeah.
Riding with my top down, listen. Riding with my top down, listen to this Jesus music. Yeah.
Christian
but you know,
shout out real.
That man, you know, the big bro, you know, he found his value, you know, now over the years just being more himself. So that's why he's more comfortable saying, hey, you know what? I don't have to live up to these standards that y'all put me on to be like a certain like Christian. Like, no, like I'm just me and my high value like self. So yeah.
Right. Can I ask y'all something?
Go ahead.
So like, you know what I mean? There's a journey that had to come to these type of conversations we had.
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's like rewind the clocks back about, let's see, we 24 now.
Mm-hmm.
How about 10 years ago?
Okay.
What do you think 10 years ago you would think a high level man was?
Man, 10 years ago, I would have thought, you know, hey, I'm not perfect.
Bitches, cars,
I'm not
mansion
perfect.
parties,
Again,
getting
when I was
sucked
14,
off
man,
every
When I was
motherfucking
14, I
Saturday
was still
night.
trying to go to the NBA, dog.
like NBA, listen,
Getting my
bro,
moms out
I
the
always
hood,
got cut.
You know what I
ain't
mean?
make a
Making sure
single
my
basketball team.
grandfather got a Camaro, making sure my nana don't got to go grocery shopping, making sure my little sister don't want for nothing. Like
all the fantasies
going to the labels that
real
we're sitting here talking about that really don't mean shit. But that was what it was, and it fulfilled me because it fueled the fire inside of me that I played with when playing football. Like when I went off, because I always played defensive line. When I got off the motherfucking you know what I'm trying to say. When I got off the motherfucking line, I hit that nigga, man.
Dog, he played
I
for
hit
Garner
that nigga.
too.
You know what I'm saying?
First of all, we in Raleigh, North Carolina. If y'all didn't know,
Nigga.
but he played for Garner. Garner is like top 2, really, in this whole
Right.
area. You got Garner and Wake Forest.
All State.
They
We're not gonna talk
damn
about it
near
though.
D1.
We're not gonna talk about All
Oh,
State.
flex then.
But like, nigga, sophomore year, I remember. Joe know, motherfucking Reed, my Coach Reed. Shout out Coach Reed. Much love to you, King. Came to me. I'm 180 pounds. 180 pounds. This nigga came up to me and said, yo, what you think about starting on Friday? My heart dropped. I said, I'm ready. I'm ready. You know what I mean? But the reason that shit makes my chest poke out so much is because, bro, I started over niggas 275, 300. Bro, I'm talking about we had a nigga that was 300 pounds, huge. Had another nigga that was like 270, huge, strong as shit. Yeah. Nigga, I probably benched 225 at that point.
Bro,
you know
we
what
got
I mean?
the same numbers. I was 180 in high school too, and I was benching 225.
And nigga, he said we're gonna put you at D tackle, bro. But I say that to say this: the fire, yeah, nigga.
You don't have a bill for D tackle though.
But nigga, I got the heart for D tackle. Shout out Coach Buddha. What did he say? Coach Buddha said it's not the size of the man, it's the fight of the man. And I'll be damned, any nigga you put in front of me, I'm gonna knock his motherfucking head back.
He dropped the jewel on you like that?
He dropped the jewel on me like that, cuz I'm trying to tell you, shout out Buddha, bro. But I say that to say this, that was the fire that fueled me. Like, it's even, I can feel that shit now. Like, I wanted to get my moms out the space that she was in. I wanted to help my grandparents because nobody was helping them. They literally sacrificed their retirement for everybody under them, pretty much. Nigga, I wanted to see my little sister not feel any type of pain at all. Like, that was my fire. Every time I stepped in those lights, Thursdays and Fridays, that's what was my fire.
So what happened, nigga?
I had to... I had to realize, bro, in terms of, you know, this conversation,
right?
I had to realize, and I'll let y'all go because I've been talking a long time. I had to realize, bro, like all this that I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. I was playing for everybody else, playing for all those symbols that were going to bring me happiness, bring my mother happiness, bring my family happiness, you know, bring happiness to my entire environment. Then I had to realize this isn't going to cut. This is not going to, this isn't it. This isn't it.
So would y'all say basically a high value man is a real nigga?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And short, and you know, short words. That's exactly what a high value man is.
So go ahead, bro.
To translate too, like with my story, you know, like back in the days, well, obviously like back in our days, well, and then
he was on the hoop dreams,
man, I was on the hoop dreams. Like literally, I would study damn near at that time, you know, all of the top high school players like Dennis Smith Jr., got Quay Parker, got Marcus Levette, you got Stanley Johnson, got Caden Reinhardt. Like, I study damn near the top players, like, in the country and also in Canada, Mexico, and just studying, like, their ball handling, their ball movements, because me and my uncle, you know, shout out my uncle, love you to death, you know, we used to, like, practice every single day, you know, you know, outside the hot sun and even sometimes in rain and stuff. And I had dreams of playing alongside with Coach K, you know, like having that and then getting the recognition from, you know, excuse my language, but getting the recognition from the bitches to like damn near everybody, because
you said bitch.
I wanted, you know, that validation, because, you know, I thought, you know, niggas was going to, you know, be the man back then, but hey, I got cut.
Coach Moore happened. That's what
man.
happened.
Coach Moore, sophomore year, I made it past like the first round, but then like the second week, got cut. I said, damn, I'm gonna try my junior year. Tried junior year, didn't make it the first week. I tried my senior year, I didn't make it. So I'm like, man.
But dog,
you know,
honestly, see, certain stuff like that, I feel like needs to happen to a man in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stuff that you really value, that you say that, you know, this is what we talking about, high value. This will make me a high value. When that doesn't work, it sends you back to the drawing board.
Right.
And then that's when you really have to take that time to get to know yourself, to figure out what do you really have a desire for. And that basically, like, I'm not a big religious person. I mean, I'm Christian, but I do kind of like lean more spiritual than I do on the Christian side. But I feel like I don't really know much about like Islam and stuff like that. But one thing that I always admired was their whole knowledge of self principle. Because I feel like knowledge of self is ultimately kind of like our ultimate mission here while we on Earth. And it kind of gets crazy now, because like with our generation, we got, you know, social media and everything is instant. If I want this pizza, I could order this pizza right now. Like something I'm looking at the internet, I could order that, have it right here, right now. So many distractions, so much noise that you may not have all the time to sit down and really just tune yourself into finding out, you know, what really makes me tick. What are my passions? What are my hobbies?
Right.
So these are things that, you know, define who you are. You really need to master that knowledge of self in order to call yourself a high value man.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that goes back to what people really mean by the rites of passage. You know what I mean? I think a big part of everybody's rites of passage on this earth is finding the wrongs along that passageway. You know, you have really your wrongs of passage. You know what I mean? The mistakes of passage. You know, you said something powerful. Every man has to go through those downtimes, those pitfalls, because when you are put in a position when you hit rock bottom and all you can do is now you just got to climb one by one, you find out what your soul's made.
You got to find out you got to find a way to make it happen, dog. I read this book called The Way of the Superior Man. And I recommend that to everybody that's really trying to elevate it. Yeah, I got it right there. Shout out to David Data. David Data dropped something on the chat, man. Every man, I feel like, needs to read that, because it really just, if you're trying to spiritually enlighten yourself, it teaches you a lot about the masculine and the feminine. It teaches you a lot about spirituality. It teaches you a lot about just how to operate in your total masculine edge. But one of the things that he talked about in the book was what I just said. Every man kind of has to hit rock bottom in order to find out, you know, in order to define kind of who he is as a man, because they say that, according to him, he said that a man will sharpen himself in solitude. This is one of the main differences that we have between, you know, women. So they said that men sharpen themselves in solitude, whereas women thrive, you know, around other people. Because when a man is by himself, you have that time to think. You know, when you out here day to day, you just doing stuff. But when you by yourself, you got time to think, put the plan together. We're master planners. We're always, a man is really about something, is always putting a plan together about, how do I get past this point? How do I elevate? What do I need to do to get to the next level? If you're a forward-thinking person, that's what you're thinking. When you have that solitude, you ain't got no distractions. You get rock bottom, you got to find a way to climb out that pit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And us, you know, as like the male species, you know, we're more logical than women, because women, you know, they're, well, not, again, not to get too off topic, But you know, women, they're more so like on the emotional side, but us, you know, like we're more so on the logical side. So again, yes, you know, we are more so analytical. You know, we're forward thinking too, and I think that's what makes a man like really great is if he has like, you know, a vision mindset of where he wants to go with his life, and then, you know, to have like a clear set goal of like what he wants to do, and you know, to what keeps him going. And that's also what makes a man like high value is, you know, his vision, like whatever you see yourself as, you know, like what is your purpose and vision. That's the most attainable and the most important thing, you know, like besides the money and all that, is like what is the vision, what is the goal, what is the purpose.
I got to tie off that. I definitely say, you know what, I'm gonna let you go. Go ahead.
No, you good. Go ahead.
All right. Well, going back to that book, yeah, he would say that the way of being a superior man is balancing your masculine and feminine energies. And just, I haven't read it, but just off the conversation I had with you, it's really stuck with me ever since then. You know, feminine energy is the thing that inhabits every single thing. It's the God within everything. But the masculine energy is the manifestation of that feminine energy into physicality, right? And that's really where a man becomes the highest of value, in my opinion, because when you are able to plan and to set sights on where your vision wants to go, but also take that step and to be in the moment, be in that creative process that is the journey, that's when you are operating in sync. You know what I mean? And that's the direction I believe, essentially, as a high level man, we need to go. Not only trying to operate on the planning side, because you notice a lot of men, they love to plan. We love to plan shit. The execution is missing. And what they don't know, the word to attach to execution is your feminine energy. You're so worried about thinking and forward thinking that you don't know how to be present, be a present thought,
and that's
be
the
a present
feminine
thinker.
energy. They talked about that in the book. Yeah.
Right.
Because
So going back to like something I said earlier, like we define kind of, you know, high value in the same terms as a real nigga. A real nigga, dog, like I feel like it's one of them words like ignorant. Like people use it and don't know what it is. Like a lot of times when you hear ignorant, people thinking it's, oh, you dumb or something like that, or just they use it in a term that it's not. Ignorant just means not knowing. Like you literally don't have the knowledge. Like I haven't heard of this. It's not somebody stupid or whatever else y'all trying to do. And I feel like the culture has defined a real nigga as really not what it is. So I guess my question would be like, why in the culture, like how did we get to this point as a culture? You know what I'm saying? Like is the culture something that's toxic, or because we always hear people saying, you know, for the culture this, is the culture something that's toxic, or, you know, like how do we feel about that?
I'm going to say something light, then I'm going to let Rel go because I feel like Rel can really expound on this. So I would say that the use of the word nigger, the way we use it today, isn't toxic because it's nothing more than the people being bullied, flipping the bullying around and turning it into a term of endearment. It's a term of endearment we use amongst ourselves. When I say that's my nigga, that's my dog, that's my brother, that's my motherfucking guy, that's my motherfucking nigga. And of course, the root of the word really means something ignorant. That's exactly what it means. However, once again, we also have to remember words are made up, just like, you know, if I decide to paint a picture, it's just something made up. Or if I just make up a noise and give it a definition, it's dead. That's the same thing as the validity behind, you know, the root of words in Latin and Greek terms. But we have managed to turn something negative into a positive. And to end on this note, what people don't know is the word nigga actually comes from a Nigerian word nigus, which means to reign. Which means to reign as a king. So what folks did, we referred to each other as nigus and brought it over here to America, and they made fun of us and called us niggers because they were the ignorant ones. So the real root of the word nigga is not a play on words and an ignorant pointing finger to us, but an ignorant pointing finger actually to the people who gave it to us, the white man.
Facts. Nah, that's real. That's real knowledge right there, brother. The word is nigus or nigus.
N-G-U-S. And it's crazy. I forgot about it, but then it just came in my mind. I was like, bro, that's actually like.
I was about to hop in. I was about to be like, hold on. I mean, the root is actually something else, but basically that term means God, man. And I feel like we all will circle back to our roots and get on square. But right now, the culture, I feel like, is in a very misguided place.
Right.
You know, what you got to say about that, bro?
Man, the culture, once again, I love the culture. I really do love the culture. But in this point of time, it's toxic as fuck. That's just what it is. But, it was a point in time where, the culture, was about positivity, bringing, us together.
Well, we weren't talking about the culture. We were talking about the word nigga.
No, I was kind of leaning toward the culture.
Okay.
So the culture itself, obviously it was at a certain point would say, okay, you know what? We're in this position, but we can turn our pain into something positive. And that's what it was, built upon is like unity, love, knowledge of self for one another, and, just that. And a good song, which correlates to this conversation, is called Self-Destruction. So it's a song that came out.
That song in the 90s with Queen Latifah, no?
Self-Destruction. You hit it with something. But the song was basically saying like, hey, listen, black man, don't be out here killing your brother because over some dumb, stupid shit. Like, no, like you are a king and, like you shouldn't be doing all this dumb nigga shit. That's just what they was giving it to you like back then. But now, fast forward, now the culture is basically, just built off of very demonic shit. And unfortunately, the masses, right, they feed into it, not realizing the deeper meaning behind it. And then will they ever wake up? Probably not. But there's a select few like us that see it for what it is, and we're like, damn. What else could we really do? We can inform people about it, but once again, like I told you, like I can give you the knowledge about positive on my Malcolm X shit, on my Martin Luther King shit, but it's up to you.
You can't make them drink it.
It's up to you to want to take it in and then to apply it, right? Like, yes, I can lead you to it, but it's on you to drink that motherfucking water. Like, yes, right. I can guide you. I can map it out for you. I can tell you, hey, bro, like 19 Keys' dad said, hey, what are you, man? You a god. Like, you are a god. Like, I can give you the game, but it's up to you
to play it.
It's up to you
properly.
And again, well, and I can't force people to do what they want to do because like they're gonna do what they do anyway. So it's just okay, cool. If that's how you feel, then hey,
Well, what are the toxic threats to being a high level man in our culture today?
What are the toxic threats? What you mean?
Like we're saying the culture is toxic in a multitude of ways. So like what specific things that are toxic are a threat or a challenge to the high level man?
Well, to the high level man, I mean, I feel like one of the threats that any man, kind of whatever stage that he's in his life, he's always going to fight the temptation when it comes to like women. Right. I mean, it is what it is. Like, we like women. We will, dedicate ourselves and to whether that's a girlfriend or wife, whatever, we will be with one woman. But it's just an urge that happens in a man's head when he sees, we're very physical people. When you see a nice curvy woman walk by, you know what I'm saying? You may,
but does that make it toxic? Because what I was thinking of while both of y'all were talking was that, well, what I notice is really society is nothing more than a physical manifestation on our natural urges in terms of our music, really talking about fucking and all this shit. And we're really the only beings on this earth that really participate in monogamous relationships. I might be missing, one or two species. Mm-hmm. I'm not that up there yet, but right. I mean, like, monogamy at this point in my growth is really not, it's not it's not realistic.
Don't say no shit to get you canceled, nah, dog.
Just don't fucking. I mean, I stand on what I say. I mean, like, I'm not saying that this is what it is, but right now I'm entertaining the thought of, I mean, is that realistic? Because
you talking about polygamy? Like
polygamy, yeah,
like with different women.
I mean, like, and not in the traditional sense, like the man just getting the upper hand in every single way. Just more so when, like, I mean, just how can you really say that you're gonna stay with one person for the rest of your life? What other species really does that? To commit to this person in terms of not having sex with nobody else, not having feelings for anybody else, not finding bonds with anybody else outside of just this person. I mean, like, it sounds nice and it sounds like that.
Sounds like a Disney story.
It sounds like a fairy tale. You know what I mean?
Well, there's penguins. I know penguins. I have like lifelong mates, but that's really about the only thing I know.
Right.
What I will say is, like, obviously it sounds good on paper, but realistically, it's not happening. Like, polygamy should be more, culturally in our society, because once again, if you're talking about just being with one person for the rest of your life and nothing happening, like not no rocks in the road, it's gonna be, some issues there and whatnot. But if people was to look at the bigger picture and see things from a realistic standpoint and try to communicate, saying, hey, listen, we're gonna go this route with it. I understand we're both human, whatnot, but as long as we have that mutual agreement, so that way, you wouldn't have all these, divorce going on, people being on child support, and then just so much of these crazy incidents that's going on where, like, dudes kill, like, the side dude because he was messing with his main one. You don't want to end up on that side of the road.
I mean, honestly, dog, I feel like in another 15 years, polygamy will be accepted. Yeah, because on the route that we are right now with this whole gender fluidity and all the norms that are being broken when it comes to like sexual relations. Now, at one point they was talking about like pedophilia being like trying to incorporate that into like the LGBTQ plus community.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, if you're going to incorporate somebody that has an urge to sexually violate a child, and I can't see being with multiple people further down that pipeline.
Right.
So, I mean, honestly, I think that's going to be something that's incorporated later, dog. But another question I had that we kind of talking about earlier with the whole culture aspect, I feel like anybody with a clear mind can see that the culture is in a very toxic state right now.
Very.
Even Kendrick dropped that album like not too long ago that he addressed the culture. He's saying that, like, basically, like, the things that y'all praising are the things that we should be, the things that are negative, the things that we are negating. So I guess my question with that would be, like, why are we at this space that we are right now? Because I feel like I'm 24. I've been here, 24 years or whatever. I feel like people today just don't operate in the same mindset that other people, like the people I grew up around, And like I said, I came out of a 2-parent household or whatever. Is it just really that many people out in the world are coming from toxic surroundings, whether that be family, whether that be relationships, that is that popularized, or is it the media is putting that message out and people are just gravitating towards it?
You know what I really
think?
think?
That much toxicity out here?
You know what I really think part of the issue is? I was thinking about this today. Babies are raising babies. Like, babies are raising babies. Babies don't know how to even, they don't even know how to be alive because they've only been alive for like 19 to 25 years. Even if you're 25, you're still a kid, and we know that now.
How old was your mama when she had you?
She was 17. So, you know what I mean?
My mom's was like 27, but she had my sister at 16.
Okay. I think
So,
my
like,
mom was like...
So hurt people are raising hurt people. So people don't even have a chance to acknowledge the pain that they went through or find a way to move forward with the trauma they've been through as a child. All they know is that I don't want my kids to grow up like I did. So now that I have a kid, I'm going to try my best to not do that. But all the while trying to shield your kid from pain, you're causing them pain because you're not allowing them to
feel.
You really can't even raise them completely because you're still trying to get over your own trauma. Yeah. And what is that? That trauma leaks into your kid now, and now your kid has sort of a harder time growing up. That's why suicide rates are so up nowadays because, I mean, like, what are they around? They're around hurt people. We are nothing more than an extension of our environment. And if our environment is filled with nothing but negative people saying the world is evil, you got to look out for this, or, you know, when I was growing up, shit was not cool, and now it's just getting worse. Like, you know, when you're around just so much negativity, how can you not soak up that and just be negativity in itself, you know? Right, and that's the challenge that we have nowadays, that we have to, once again, find connection within ourselves and then just, to a certain extent, say, fuck all this out here. I need to get to know this, and then we need to proceed from there, because that, to me, is the first, second, and third step we need to take before we do anything else, before we try to fix anything, before we try to go out of space or do some shit, before we try to evolve technology and evolve on any single level. We have to learn how to be connected to this, and we are very disconnected from that right now.
I think, on some deep shit, I think the root of the issue, I think I said it inside the chat, the root issue is just, you know, the human, like, collective as a whole, because, like, obviously, you know, like, yeah, like, we're very good creatures, but at the same time, we're fucked up creatures. Like, we do some wild shit to one another. Like, we lie to each other, we cheat on one another. Like, we really do some raw shit. So with that being said, you know, there should be different ways that we should, you know, cope with that evil side in ourselves. And then, like you said, you know, the suicide rates are just going up, like, way more and more and more and more and more. Now, I don't condemn that. I'm not trying to get off topic, but again, I don't condemn that. I just think that every human being should try to find that inner peace inside themselves, you know, whatever that may mean to you. Like, if that means, you know, serving like Allah, Jesus, or whoever you serve, you know, you got to find that inner light inside yourself, so that way you don't be too consumed of, you know, what's going on out here. And I told my parents, and I already told y'all, but again, I'm gonna say it again. I told my parents, I said, well, damn, you know, like, you guys are like telling me, like, oh, it's this way outside. Oh, it's so cold outside. Is this, is that, is that. But I'm like, well, like, why am I here for? Like, you know what's out here.
Like, people try to downplay life so much to the point where it's like, well, shit, why am I even alive if this place is such a hellhole?
Right.
And that's really one of the ultimate sins. Like, people kill me. Like, this is why I'm more spiritual than religious. People will talk so much shit about how terrible the world is, to the point where it's like, don't you think that that's the work of the devil, if anything, to try to get into people's minds that this world is terrible? Like, that, to me, is the work of the devil. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, it's not something to be ignored, because that, nothing more, is just a challenge, a step to evolution that we need to make. We need to rectify this racism, this sexism, this indisputably unequivocal inequity we have in this motherfucking country. We still need to tackle that shit, but we also need to make sure that we are smelling these roses that are still here. We're still celebrating life. We don't need to tear life down as much as we're celebrating it. Leave space for tearing life down, because you have to kill things so rebirthing can happen, right? But we still need to be celebrating life. We need to be walking with each other, with all that comes with life, in order for us to move forward. And I'll say that this culture right now, yes, it has a lot of toxic things attached to it, but that's not all that it is. And I believe our job is to understand that wherever we are on our journey through human life, human evolution as a collective, is exactly where we need to be, because ultimately that means we are on a positive trajectory. You know what I mean? Yes, on a societal standard, on a societal definition, yes, very, very toxic. But in terms of a whole life perspective on existing as a life form, we are always gaining, which goes in turn to knowing the difference between things in society and life. The true definition of being a high level man, and furthermore being a high level person. Being a high level person is breaking free of the societal definition and the things that society tells you, and understanding really what it means to be you. You know what I mean? There's no other motherfucker out here that's like you, and that's where your value comes from. That's where everybody values comes from. There's not another nigga that acts or looks and behaves like you. That's your motherfucking superpower. And I'll leave it right here. To quote my nigga Sadhguru, shout out Safe Soil. Planet is going crazy right now. Please tap into the Safe Soil movement. He said, it's not about humans becoming super. It's about realizing that being human is super. And we're all superhuman.
Facts. So I want to say to that, dog, like, whenever I come across, I don't mean to name drop, we had a homegirl from UNCG that dealt with a lot of psychological problems. You know what I'm talking about?
Nods head.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, concepts, thoughts of suicide and all these other different things came up. And whenever I deal with somebody that's like that, I always like to tell them, like, no, you're enough. You were meant to be here. You were that sperm that made it to the egg that fertilized that egg. You, out of thousands of millions, however many, you know, sperm cells are released during ejaculation, you were the one that made it to the egg. You were meant to be here, you know? So I like to keep that in mind, dog. But one more thing I want to say about the whole culture thing, kind of to offset what you were saying, but I mean, I feel what you were saying, but the culture right now is toxic, dog. Like, I feel like one of the things that we're kind of missing is the whole concept of, you said babies raising babies. We're missing the whole concept of the community raising the baby. And that's one of the changes that I've noticed since I've gotten older. Because, bro, back when I was a kid and all that stuff, we was outside, hopscotch, drawing on the sidewalk. I knew my neighbors. You know what I'm saying? When I left my key, when we started staying home alone, when I left my key, I could go to my neighbor's house, stay with them till my parents got home. I got a younger sister now, she 11. She don't even know who's staying around us, bro. Like, there is no concept of community now. So, you know, the single mothers or whatever that's young or whatever, when they get pregnant and have to raise the baby by themselves, they really have to raise it by themselves. You know, unless they got a grandma or something that live in the area, but that whole community concept is gone. You see a lot of people walking around with this, you know, no new friends, or born in the world alone, die alone, all this type of stuff like that, when that ain't what we put here for, bruh. Like, well, there's a reason there's billions of people here in the world. We're meant to interact with each other, but somehow that's what's popular in this, you know, this culture. Some people, like back in high school and stuff, I used to see screensavers and stuff, all these types of quotes, you know, like I was talking about, born in the world alone, die alone, all this type of stuff that's like, yo, like, that mentality itself is taking you away from, you know, speaking over and talking with your neighbor, trying to find some type of connection that y'all might have or whatever. So you rather just sit there and alone and just be by yourself.
We are a generation full of toxic responses. Trauma responses. A generation full of trauma responses.
Okay. To add on, right, going back to the topic that, you know, you said that, you know, y'all knew a girl that dealt with those psychological issues. Well, you know, and I think I already told you, but yeah, I lost a homie of mine. Like,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know, I'm not going to say his name because out of respect for his family. But, you know, I lost a friend of mine, like, last year. Like, he really, you know, blew his brains out. Like, he really committed suicide. But me and him...
Why did he kill himself? Like, what was the purpose?
R.I.P.
Me and him, like, we was on the same level as far as, like, seeing things, like, from a different, like, free-thinking view. But I tried to, like, grab him back, like, hey, bro, like, don't... Like, you're still young as fuck. Like, you're only 25 years old. Like, it's not over yet. But once again, his mindset was just like, oh, you know, it's so fucking cold out here, and like, why would you even try? But I said, bro, like, you can't allow, like, what's going on around you to dictate, like, your inner light inside yourself. So as much as I tried to get him back, on, you know, more of, you know, like, hey, don't do it. But again,
too far gone.
I can't tell another grown man, like, you know, what to do. And then unfortunately, I spoke with his mother, and she was like, yeah, you know, I walked inside his room and his things was just there. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry because,
oh my gosh,
I'm so sorry because, you know, your son was like very intellectually smart than most motherfuckers around here, like really super smart, but you know, it's just he just went off the deep end. And I'm like, listen, the phone's always here, you can call me at any given time, I'm your homie, I love you, the phone's always here, but you know, unfortunately not here. So again, I'll say that, you know, as humans, yes, we can be very like flawed in a lot of like areas, but at the same time, you know, we can't just like say, oh, just completely unplug, because, you know, we still got, you know, a life to live. Like, we still, you know, don't, and that's what Cole said in the Amari video, you know, don't kill your inner child, because that's the happiness, that's the creativity, you know, that's your inner God in you. So this is why, you know, me, I just stick more so, you know, on the spiritual side, like, hey, you know, there's still a possibility, and I'm not going to go down that dark abyss, because obviously I know what it leads to. So, you know.
Well, with that being said, you know, let's loop this back to the original question. So after this discussion, what changes would you make to your definition of being a high-level man?
Who will go first? Me or you?
You can take it.
Being a high-level man, you know, just being, you know, accountable for what you do and say, having very good integrity, just keeping your spirits high. That's the most important thing. Having that inner light inside yourself, like something that, you know, the money can't buy, something that the material shit don't buy. It's that inner, like, spiritual sense inside yourself that's gonna, you know, keep you going in this, you know, game in which we call life. You know, that to me is very high value, and not just going along with the status quo of what so and so is doing. That's my high definition of high value. And an example of that could be, you know, you might see somebody that comes from a foreign country over here, right? And they have like a small house or like a trailer park. To them, in their vision, man, you know, like, we're living like very good. But someone in a mansion could be saying, man, I'm really depressed as fuck. Like, I just want to end this shit. So it's all about perception, how one views life. This person may not have a lot. They might not have $1,000, $1 million, or even $1 billion. But guess what? They're fucking happy. Like, they're really happy with themselves, because that's their inner light, and that's what they value the most, and that's their high value that they cherish. You know, so it like you said, it just comes back on the individual for like what they want. You know.
I think, I mean, obviously these traits and characteristics that we were talking about earlier, but I think for me personally right now in my life, becoming the high value man that I want to be is being comfortable and being alone, you know, because we were talking about, you know, high value man is able to stand in his own and stuff like that. And sometimes I just have to realize that it's okay to be alone. You know, I don't always have to be with my homies or to be with some type of female or be out in the public doing something, because sometimes you just need that time to sit by yourself and plan your next thoughts out. So a high value man is somebody that, you know, has these integrous traits and perseverance and strength mentally and physically, but also somebody that is able to not only succeed alone, but thrive alone as well.
You know, I say my definition morphed into a thought that came up in the midst of me talking to you guys, and that's knowing the difference between a societal definition and a life-wide definition. I think true balance is not having everything, balanced in terms of everything around you, but whether shit goes left or whether shit goes right, you are 10 toes down and you are solid in wherever you stand, because you understand that societal things are going to leave you here from left to right. Things that you experience in this life are going to leave you in depression and extreme happiness, excitement, laughter, somberness, anger. You're going to feel a multitude of emotions, and you're going to experience a multitude of things in this life. However, you have to be able to take a bird's eye view of what you're doing in society and understand that what I am as a piece of life outshines anything that society could offer me. Before I get that bag, I got to understand I am the bag. You know what I'm saying? And I believe it has to be a constant reminder in a person's brain saying that, okay, look, I'm doing this on a societal level, but in terms of just being alive, you can never lose that worth, because being alive is the greatest work that you could ever have, because you simply are a fucking superstar shining wherever you fucking go. Whatever environment you go in, you are altering it. That's how powerful you are. That's why we're not just fucking human beings. We're all gods, because we're all gods in manifestation. You know what I mean? So whatever we're doing, we are either cleansing or destroying whatever environment we are in. But that's getting in touch with the God within us. So to be able to operate at the highest frequency, to be a high level person, it requires that differentiation between societal you and the real you, and understanding no matter what, I am the thing. Really just circling back to my original definition, I am the thing that determines my own value.
I want to add just one more thing in there, bro. I also feel like a high value man is somebody that, because we can't ignore the resources aspect of this, because if you ain't got the resources to support yourself, how can you support somebody else?
Right.
So a high value man, you definitely have to have access to resources to be able to, and this is part of the trials of growing to be a man. Me and Rel were talking about earlier. You basically had to, jump off the porch and find a way to support yourself first of all, but then you also had to have, that safe house, that storehouse of resources, and able to support, that woman, or if you gay, going after a man or whatever, and whatever kids that y'all may have, because ultimately, that's one of the responsibilities of man, is to be able to support his family. So we can't ignore that.
Yeah, man.
Also, one last thing. Joey Badass said in the recent interview with Materiality, he said that, we're all abundant in some fashion or form. So you might be abundant like in this field, or you might be abundant in this field. So the point of the message is like, hey, don't lose that sense of hope or something that you're good at in that like specific like lane. And that's, again, everyone's different, but that was able to help him cope, overcoming the dark times, overcoming the dark, depressing times, like saying, hey, listen, I'm that nigga. I'm like, I may not be that nigga like here, but I'm damn sure more abundant in that nigga like over here. So as long as like you feel that and know that, then you're gonna go far. And like Lauryn Hill, she said, well, my bad. So Lauryn Hill, she said, how you gonna win when you ain't right within? Because everything starts in here first. Like, yeah,
quotables, boy.
Yeah, we can like chase the bag and whatnot, but like you said, you have to like feel it inside of you first. Because if this ain't right, or if this ain't right, you're not gonna go far.
And just to bring that full circle,
You're
I think
not gonna
the
go far.
consensus among all of us really is be your own resource source first. You are your first and second and third resource before anything else is. So walk every step in this life as if you really do not need anything else other than yourself. And I think that pretty much wraps things up, fellas. Of course, as always, our episode is brought to you by all of our specific brands. I'll go ahead and say mine. King Tings brands. We do clothes, we do slogans, we do a multitude of different things. King Tings really is all about just realizing the God within you, aka the King within you. All right, Real, what you got next?
I got my own independent record label, Preliminary Records, and I also got my clothing line that I'm starting up to, Preliminary Apparel. So the main vision behind that is to build, a solid foundation of a hip hop independent record label. So like Dreamville, like TDE, like Mass Appeal, something in that lane, because we're gonna need people that keep the tradition of hip hop going. So that's just what I represent. Now again, I can't rap or sing, but I damn sure know like the fucking culture. Like I got the ear and I know the feel. And I've always been someone that that's in the lane of like the conscious, the jazz rap, the boom bap, the gangster street shit, conscious shit. So I've always been that type of a dude. So that's just what I'm striving for, is to build my label and my brand off of the labels that I mentioned.
That's dope, bro. You can find me at _King Coop on Instagram. Right now, I'm really just trying to invest myself in the podcast and develop my voice and create this platform. I may have some ventures going on down the line. I dabbled a little bit in creating clothes. I may pick that back up. It really just depends on what I want to put my focus to, but you all will be the first to know. But yeah, this is the Peace of Mind podcast. We kind of just gave you all an introductory topic here, but we'll touch on everything from sports to music to the culture, relationship advice, just, things that really resonate with
This is what we do.
with this generation, Gen Z, millennials.
Gen Z.
So yeah, y'all stay tuned. This will definitely be your favorite podcast.
Peace.
Yee-hee.
We outie.
And that's done, nigga. Which one of y'all niggas gonna yee? We clear, dog. We clear.
That was the first episode, bitch.
Sheesh, boy. Hold up, nigga. Hold up. I'm goddamn.